Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the High Vibration Living Podcast. I am your host, Chef Whitney Aronoff, founder of Starseed Kitchen and High Vibration Foods, and host here of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for choosing to tune into this episode today. This officially marks 100 episodes of the podcast, and I'm so proud and grateful that you guys keep showing up and tuning in because I absolutely love doing this work. I love learning, I love connecting, and this podcast gives me the opportunity to do so. It's also nice as a chef to be able to take a moment and sit down and use my mind and body in a different way than standing and cooking all day. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this podcast. I couldn't do it if I didn't have you guys tuning in and listening along with me and learning along with me. So what I'd like to do after 100 episodes is share with you the episodes that have been really meaningful for me. So every time I record a podcast episode, once it actually is published, I listen to it again because there's something that I get to relearn by tuning in a second time around. So I love listening to my podcasts when I'm in the car or when I'm doing a walk. And that's usually when I turn it on. It's when I'm on my way to Whole Foods or on my way to my client's house. And I do listen to the episode all the way through and I learn something new every time. But there have been some guests where their teachings have really stuck with me. And there's also been some guests where I've listened to their episode more than once. That's how good the info was that I wanted to go back and listen to certain sections over and over and over again. So I'd love to know if you guys had this experience. So you can go and leave a podcast review at any time on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That really helps me continue to grow. It helps more people find the podcast, and it's also a great way for you guys to communicate with me. So you can go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave the podcast a 5-star rating, and then write a review. And you can let me know, hey, enjoy listening to podcast. This episode with this guest has been my favorite. And then you can also share why if you so care to do so. And you can also comment anytime on my Instagram. I would love to hear from you guys there as well. If there is a particular podcast episode, guest, or topic that has been really supportive to you. And that's what I try to do is just keep finding guests that support the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental bodies so we can all continue to get new tools for our tool belt to find balance and joy in our life. That is the goal, isn't it? So without further ado, what I'm going to go through are the 10 podcasts that have been most meaningful for me, ones that I find I reflect on often, and ones that I've gone back and listened to a few times, and also the people that have moved into my life through during the podcast episode that have really made an impact, brought joy, uplifted me, shared insights that helped shift me. And I want to make sure that they're able to do that for you as well, should this be information that's supportive. So it's in no particular order, but I'm going to let you guys know the podcast guest, what we talked about, and the date that we recorded it or the date that it's posted so you guys can go back through and find the episodes. So let's start off with number 1, Chef Chris Donaldson. So it's really interesting how we met. We met through somebody that worked at Whole Foods. So we both shopped at the same Whole Foods here in Orange County, and the manager of the fish department thought that we should meet. He thought that we should be working together, that we should connect in some way, that we would just like each other and could really help each other in our careers as personal chefs. So he put the two of us in touch. we met for coffee, and I'm so grateful to Chef Chris Donaldson. He's helped provide some amazing opportunities for me, giving me an opportunity to cook for some NFL players. And it's been so nice just having a chef that I know I can reach out to if I have any questions, that I can follow along on Instagram, that knows the ups and downs, the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental work that goes into this job. It's just nice having another colleague in this space. But I really admire what he does. When you work as a personal chef for professional athletes, that's another level. Like, you're accountable for how someone performs their job, because food fuels. And so I just find it so impressive, the career he's built, how he structures it, how he supports multiple players, and how he figures out what to feed someone who needs fuels but maybe likes to eat in a certain way. And maybe there's bad habits involved with that. And you have to work on getting somebody on the right plan for their performance. So I loved my episode with Chef Chris Donaldson. You can check it out on January 11th, 2022. That's a fun one to listen to if you want to know what it's like to be a personal chef for professional athletes. And I like to call Chef Chris Donaldson the Super Bowl chef, because the year that I interviewed Chef Chris is the year his client, Matthew Stafford, won the Super Bowl. So check out that episode if you like sports, or you just are curious about what it's like being a chef for professional athletes or celebrities. That's the one to tune into. The next one that I loved, and I've had this guest on more than once, and that is Shakti Sita. So Shakti Sita lives in Sedona. She has a yoga studio in Sedona called The Palace. She teaches Kundalini yoga. She also does retreats in Sedona and other locations. She's an incredible teacher and a very powerful and impactful speaker. What I love about Shakti Sita, she can take complex concepts about consciousness, mindset, meditation, how the world works in this matrix, and break it down into a way that's simple, that anyone can understand. And that's what we need, is we need teachers and coaches that can help us operate in our version of the real world and find peace in our lives and find ways to navigate through it all. And you'll find there's 2 different episodes that I have with Shakti Sita. One where we just talk about the work that she does, her yoga studio in Sedona, the benefits of Sedona and being in her studio and what she teaches. And then we also have an episode on the summer solstice. So you can find the Shakti Sita episode March 1st, 2022. And you can find the summer solstice episodes. I have those on the podcast around June 21st for both the 2022 and 2023 year, because I think it's really important for people to understand what the summer solstice means. The power behind the day of the year where the sun shines the longest and the brightest. There's history behind that. There's something to it. And a lot of Shakti Sita's teachings, that yoga lineage that she has, she is passing on information that we all deserve to know. And because of her background in media and the work that she previously did before moving into the space she's in now, she's an incredible communicator. I know you guys will enjoy my episodes with Shakti Sita. Check those out if you are on a spiritual journey, are curious about Sedona, are curious about Kundalini yoga, are curious about the summer solstice and other mysticism. She is definitely a great teacher and tool for you. Another episode, very impactful for me, helped change the way that I actually grocery shop, and that is Liz Riffle of Riffle Bison Farms. So Riffle Bison Farms is a bison farm in West Virginia. It's female founded, and Liz taught me that we need to look a little further into our labeling on meats. So a lot of us know, we have to look for 100% grass-fed, grass-finished. And she taught me that field harvesting would be the next level up from that. So in the episode, you learn about the tradition of field harvesting meat. So the bison on her farm in West Virginia are born there, live their lives there, roam there, but they're also processed on the land. So the bison never go into the back of trucks. They aren't shipped for hours and hours away from home. Their adrenaline doesn't go up. Their bodies don't get pumped with hormones that you don't want in your food, like excess cortisol. All of this changes the way your body processes the meat, the hormones that are in the meat, the flavor of the meat. It's a completely different process. And when she butchers her bison, she has a butcher come to the property. They process the animal on site, and they use and sell every single part of the bison. Absolutely nothing's wasted. They sell all the meat at farmers market or directly on site at their farm. They sell the hide. They sell the skull. They sell absolutely every piece of the bison. And if for some reason they can't find an artisan that wants the skull, if that doesn't sell, they will bury the skull of the bison in the land, on the land, and put it back into motion. It's a really beautiful, thoughtful, incredible farm. Through Liz, I learned about North Star Bison, which is where I order most of my meat now. I like to do large orders from them. She learned her practice of field harvesting from North Star Bison. So with Riffle Bison Farms, unless you are in the West Virginia area, you have to go to one of their farmers markets in those areas or go straight to the farm if you want to get her incredible 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, field-harvested bison. They don't sell any online just because there isn't enough. They sell out of everything. So North Star Bison would be the next choice for you. They sell more than just bison. They sell beef, they sell elk, they sell a variety of meat, so you guys can check them out. Liz Riffle's episode with Riffle Bison Farm, April 19th, 2022. Super informative. She also offers cooking classes and butchering classes. So if you want to learn more about the meat process, she's your girl. I would go ahead and check her out. Check out those episodes. If you are someone that consumes protein, it's a very, very good episode. You will learn a ton. Ooh. This podcast host just had a little dry throat moment there. Thank you for your patience. So, number 4 of my top 100 podcast episodes over the past 2.5 years is Helena Woods, who is an astrocartographer. I adore her. She's absolutely darling. She is from Southern California, but she lives in France, right? In a very powerful spot for her that she learned about through astrocartography. And astrocartography is the process of applying astrology to the world and finding the ley lines or the spots on the planet that are going to be most supportive for you. And then you can break it down into further detail. So you can find places that are better for you for business versus love life versus health versus creating a home. It's very, very interesting. And if you're someone that loves to travel, or you're like me and you've lived in many locations, astrocartography makes a ton of sense when you start learning about the the planets and the energies that are working for you or against you when you go to certain places. So this was really interesting for me. We did a private astrocartography session prior to filming the episode, and it was really enlightening for me to learn about the energies that work for me here in Laguna Beach, or lack thereof, versus Los Angeles. It can be simple as just 100 miles away versus what can be available to me if I just go over to Arizona or up to Utah, or to another continent, to another part of the world. I highly suggest looking into this. Now, there are websites that you can go to where you can type in, your birthday, your hour of birth, the location, the same details that you would provide if you're getting your natal chart read. But it can be confusing when you're looking at the map. So it's great to find an astrocartographer that can interpret that for you. Now, Helena Woods is not the first astrocartographer I've worked with. I've worked with others before, but it left me feeling sad and like there was no place in the world for me. So finding a astrocartographer that's positive, that speaks your language, because as we know in the spiritual and health and wellness space, you can hire people for different supports or an education, but they don't speak in a way that helps you understand the content or helps you get the answers that you need, that you've hired them for. So finding someone that speaks your language is really important. She has a great YouTube channel, so I would go and check her out and see if the way she communicates works for you. I absolutely loved my session with her, and you guys will love this conversation. There's value there in helping you understand what an astrocartography session is and why learning about different energy points on the planet is going to support you. Even if you're just planning vacations, if you're planning a honeymoon, if you're planning a trip for a 30th birthday or a 40th birthday, you can use that information and the experience and energy that you want to gain from that trip. You can use astrocartography to find the right place to travel to. I think it'll open your eyes up to why you get called to go and visit certain places. Why when you travel or live somewhere, you feel stuck. You feel like everything's hard. Things aren't flowing to you versus other places you go. And it's like magic. Things just happen for you very easily. It feels very light. You feel great there. There's so much more going on in all the places that we travel to and visit to on this planet than what we can see. So this is a fun episode. Helena Woods, Astrocartography, June 14th, 2022. Check that out. And this is a great reminder. All my episodes are on YouTube. So you can find me, Chef Whitney Aronoff, on YouTube. And if you're someone that enjoys watching versus listening, all the podcast episodes are there. We have short clips as well as the full length episode. So these are really great to watch if you're someone that likes to go into an infrared sauna. Maybe you go to Perspire. You can flip one of these on and learn something new while you're sitting there and sweating. These are great for flights. Download them ahead of time or make sure you access your YouTube when you're on a long flight and gain some knowledge during that downtime when you can't maybe tune into a podcast episode. All right, let's move on to number 5. Catherine Rogers is a chef and now a chocolatier. She has a shop down in San Diego County. She does raw vegan chocolates. She sources her own cacao from Ecuador, and we talk about all the health benefits of chocolate. It was such a fun episode to learn why chocolate is good for us, what the benefits are, how it grows, where we source it from, who we buy it from is important, all the different ways that it can be prepared. What's the spiritual aspect of cacao? Why is cacao used in so many ceremonies? What is it really doing? Why is there this cacao heart opening connection? I've also learned through my mediumship and spiritual practices. I've had teachers that have told me, well, you can't eat any cacao if you want to open up and get good readings and gain better psychic abilities. While there's other people that say, no, that's exactly what cacao's for. It can support in that. So we go through all those different belief systems and to kind of demystify it. It's a beautiful episode. If you like chocolate, September 20th, 2022, my episode with Catherine Rogers. It's beautiful. She also has a line of chakra chocolates. I would check those out. Next one is an episode that I've listened to over and over and over again. I think this episode is the perfect example of Starseed Kitchen, of the work I do as a chef. I think it's a great reflection of my belief system in nourishing the physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And that is my episode with Miara Rose on October 25th, 2022, The Astrology of Food. Absolutely beautiful episode. We go through the entire astrological chart. We call out every single sign, and we talk about the foods that benefit that sign and the foods that don't. The herbs that benefit that sign, the ones to avoid. The food habits that one might have because they are that sign. It is incredible. Everyone can listen to this episode. And if you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister, anyone in your life, which you probably do, you're going to have so much fun listening to this episode because you are going to start laughing out loud when you hear the tendencies of these different signs, because you will absolutely see those habits in those people. So if you have someone in your life that's a Leo, if you have someone in your life that's a Sagittarius, what she calls out, I think you'll see is spot on. I shared this episode with so many friends and family, and they were blown away. Like, how did she know that about me? And all she did was go through each sign and talk about that as if it's that person's sun sign. But what's really neat is you can listen to this episode and you can listen to one section about one sign, and you'll see that relates to you because that's your sun sign. So your sun sign, is your main sign. When someone asks you your sign, we all usually respond with our sun sign. So I'm a Gemini because I was born May 30th. So we also have our rising sign, and then you have your moon, and you'll see a little bit of those signs in who you are. So it's really important to listen to the whole thing so you can pick up on those other elements, because we also talk about natural health issues that people with certain signs could develop if they don't find balance and how to properly take care of their body. So absolutely great episode, Astrology of Food with Miara Rose. You're going to love it. October 25th, 2022. Scroll through and listen to that episode. And again, you can watch the full thing on YouTube. You'll love it. All right, moving on. Super valuable episode, The Truth About Salt. So I interviewed Daryl Hart. His family owns the Redmond Real Salt mines in Utah. And this was so much fun because this is the salt that I like to use. It's real salt. So it's not sea salt. It's from an ancient seabed in Utah. And so in this episode, you're going to learn about how they found this salt. So the family had a farm in Utah, and they were really struggling financially. The farm just wasn't making money, and they thought, we got to figure something out or we're going to lose our land. And some salt had been found by other farmers not too far away, so they thought they'd risk it all. And they went to the bank and got some money. They bought a bunch of equipment, and they just started digging. They just started digging up their farm and just hoping for the best. And sure enough, they hit salt. And now they have this incredible salt mine. I'm sure if you've Seeing the packaging at Whole Foods or a healthy grocery store or online, Redmond Real Salt. It's outstanding real salt full of minerals from Utah. You don't have to pay extra for pink salt from the Himalayas. There's good salt here in the US, and that's what we talk about. We talk about why salt became iodized, why there's caking agents in salt, helping you understand the labels that are on salt jars, helping you better understand the saying, when it rains, it pours, on one of those salt brand boxes. It's a really fun episode, super informative. It's going to help you make better choices for your pantry, for your salt. Truth About Salt, Daryl Hart, November 29th, 2022. Loved that conversation. Next one is a little lighter. It's much more playful. I recorded it just a few months ago. And that is Lauren Hubert. You might know her as the sorority nutritionist. And we recorded together on May 9th, 2023. And it was such a fun conversation. And Lauren is a nutritionist that really helps women and men lose weight or maintain their weight. And this was fun because we kind of just demystified people's concepts of what it takes to lose weight, portion control, foods to eat, foods that are supposed to be bad for you. We talk about oatmeal, which is one of the foods that people often can't figure out, am I allowed to eat it? Am I not allowed to eat it? Is it good for me? Is it not good for me? How much am I allowed to eat? What's a good portion for a man versus a woman? The oatmeal gets demystified in my episode with Lauren Hubert. It's also just a really fun conversation, and you're going to gain real tools for how to put food on your plate. And sometimes when we're on our health journey, we forget how to put together a meal, or we create food fear, or we read a magazine article, something we see online, and it makes us think that if we have that item, it's going to kill us or it's going to cause us to gain weight. And she's really good at just reminding you that you can really eat most anything you want if you balance your plate and balance your portions. It's a fun episode as well. It'll re-motivate you if you're feeling down in the dumps about getting back in shape, losing weight, or eating healthier. So check out the episode with Lauren Hubert, sorority nutritionist, on May 9th, 2023. Next is another episode I recently filmed, and that is with Natalia Benson. We recorded together on August 1st, 2023. And this episode, we touch on quite a few things because her career has evolved over the years. We talk about astrology. We talk about creating our own businesses. We talk about money mindset. And it was a huge moment for me to have Natalia Benson on because she has been a podcaster for many, many years. She was ahead of the curve, and her business has really evolved over the years. And I've loved watching and following it on Instagram, listening to her podcast episodes, seeing how her life evolved, how she shifted, and how she freely shared that information. The basis of what she does now is really astrology with business and helping female entrepreneurs grow by their money mindset, using astrology, taking care of themselves, being smart about how they set up and manage their business. It's a really just fun episode as well. A little lighter from some of my deep culinary posts. And it was a huge full circle moment for me because I've really admired the businesses that this woman's created and how she's presented herself to the world and her podcast. And it meant a lot to me that she came on mine and shared with this community. So check out Natalia's episode, Natalia Benson, August 1st, 2023. And it was also really nice to hear what an entrepreneur does to stay balanced and to keep going and to stay healthy. Because when you work by yourself or when you're running your own businesses and, that's what you're relying on to keep everything in your life going, it's really easy to want to work all the time. At the end of the day, instead of just logging off your computer, there's always a way to avoid your feelings or what you need to work on or your connections and just get back to work. So it was really nice listening to an entrepreneur talk about the ways that they take care of themselves and the boundaries that they set so they can do that. So that's 9 episodes I just shared with you that I really learned a lot from over the past few years that I suggest you checking out. To recap, that's Chef Chris Donaldson, it's Shakti Sita, it's Liz Riffle of Riffle Bison Farms, it's Helena Woods, the astrocartographer, it's Catherine Rogers, the chef and chocolatier, it is Miara Rose, the astrologer, it is Daryl Boss Hart, the owner, family member, salter of Redmond Roll Salt. It's Lauren Hubert, the sorority nutritionist, Natalia Benson, astrologer, entrepreneur, female coach. And I would say number 10, you're going to have to make sure to check out because it's coming out November 7th, and that would be Paul Kelly. Paul Kelly is a turkey farmer based in the UK. His family has been having their turkey farms for 3 generations. They have one in the UK, one that's based in Virginia, and we talked turkey. We talked all about how to choose your turkeys for Thanksgiving, what a wild turkey is versus all the other labels that you may see out there, when turkeys really hatch, how they naturally roam and graze, where are turkeys originally from? Surprise, they're actually from Mexico. How did turkeys get to the UK? Who first took turkeys over to Europe since they aren't from there? What should we really be looking for size-wise? Like, what is a real size of a female turkey versus a male turkey? Should you be eating hens or toms? We get into all those little details, and this is one of the topics that if you are someone that celebrates Thanksgiving or any holiday, you'll probably end up with turkey on your table. And in this day and age when labels are really confusing, it's really nice to talk to the source and find out what we're supposed to be looking for. And that's why I liked this conversation with Paul Kelly. So his family's company is called the Kelly Bronze Turkey. And that is in reference to the color of the feathers that are on the turkey. So originally, all the turkeys in Mexico had the same colors. But as turkeys were taken over to Europe, taken to different parts of the world, bred in different ways, turkey feather colors have changed. So I think most of us now, when we imagine a turkey, we would imagine really dark feathers, almost black. That's the animation we all see now, is that turkey with the little red gobblers and the dark brown, almost black feathers. But originally they were more of a bronze color. And that's the type of turkey that Paul Kelly's family hatches and manages and, raises on their farms. And you can actually go to their turkey farms. If you're listening and you live in the UK or you live in Virginia, you can go onto their website and you can schedule a time to go to see the turkeys on the farm. You can also potentially feed the turkeys. We learned in this episode that they really love pumpkin. So after Halloween, you're welcome to bring your pumpkins to the turkeys. They absolutely love them. We talk about other foods that he knows that they love eating, like strawberries and cherries and chestnuts. He is like all of us. He is just fascinated about, how we can get to traditional practices of raising turkeys and processing our protein in a health supportive way where nobody gets sick. The turkey's respected, we all get a great meal, the food isn't dry and unappetizing, that the turkey is simple and easy to prepare. we really go into a lot of different food myths about turkey, and I thought it was important to have this conversation with the holidays around the corner and people just wanting to better understand where they go to buy a turkey, what they should expect, and how to have an easier experience preparing it. So there you have it. My top 10 favorite podcast episodes since I've started the High Vibration Living podcast. I really have loved every episode. I've learned something from every single person I've had on the show. It was definitely hard to choose 10, but I would say these are people and conversations that I think about all the time and whose time with me has stayed with me and I think about and reflect on often. I hope these episodes provide the same impact to you. If you haven't checked those out, I hope you revisit them. This is really evergreen content. I try to do episodes and bring on guests that's going to provide you tools that you could go back and listen to at any time in your life. I know there's a few different podcasts out there where I've done that, like the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston Price Foundation. I've gone through and listened to many, many episodes. I think they have over 500 episodes. I've listened to many old episodes because it's evergreen content about food, health, and wellness. Starseed Hotline's another one that I really went back and I listened to lots of old episodes of theirs when I was just down a rabbit hole when it comes to the spiritual space, and I couldn't find anyone talking about the things that they were talking about. So when you find a podcast like the High Vibration Living podcast or others, definitely go and look through past podcasts. Check out what they were doing a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. There might be content there for you. And the name of the episode sometimes doesn't always share everything that episode's about. So check out the show notes. And then, you can always turn it on and listen for, I would say 20 minutes. And then you'll know if there's content for you. I always find, even when I bring on guests that I've really connected with prior to pressing play, there's always that moment. It takes a few minutes for the guest and the host to connect and the conversation to flow. So hang in there. They'll get to it, and then you'll know if there's going to be deep content for you. And I find it's the 30-minute mark. It's the 30-minute mark on podcasts where I really start flowing with the guest and we really connect and we're going deep. And that's when I realize I could sit here and chat with them for an hour and a half to 2 hours, which I hope someday I'll have the pleasure of doing. I'm one of those people that like long podcast episodes. I will take a 2-hour podcast episode and listen to it in 3 parts. I know not everyone's into that. But when someone has a good podcast guest, I just want to keep going. I want more. I think there's nothing worse than a 30-minute podcast episode that leaves me wanting more. I try to do a little bit of in between. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 45 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. If you guys have a preference, let me know. I'm happy to adjust timing if it supports you in your learning. But there we go. Cheers to 100 episodes of the High Vibration Living podcast. Here's to many more. Thank you for tuning in. Can't wait to do this again when we hit 200 episodes. Cheers.